All right, Taylor Bradford from the Gloucester Times join us once again to catch us up on all things Cape Ann. And Taylor, we're back in West Gloucester at the train station.
We are yet again. There has been a lot of noise, both by residents and by the trains themselves. Over the course of the week, I received a lot of correspondence from residents over there, kind of stating that the noise is getting worse. So if you guys remember, the narrative of this story is that the MBTA has been working on reconstructing and renovating the bridge of the Annisquam that goes over Annisquam River. And because of that is that West Gloucester train station is the last line of the Rockport line. So trains will go there before they go back around to Boston. And so because of this, there's been a lot of idling trains in the residential areas, which is making it really loud for neighbors, especially as they're all home during COVID. So that includes, the working class, that includes students, that includes the elderly. And so there's a lot of noise happening. And so there had been conversation and the action of bringing those trains further down to Condolen Road and hopefully, mitigating some of that noise problems that had been happening. But what happened is that although the MBT had said that they were going to do, some of the trains still were idling in locations they weren't allowed to. So there's been this ongoing conversation, almost we could call a dispute, between the MBTA and the residents. And there had been promised by Joni Ray of the MBTA that they were going to hire a line manager to come out and kind of inspect and ensure that trains were going all the way to that Condolen Road kind of industrial park area. Yep. And so they did hire a line manager, and what they had articulated that the trains now idle for about 15 minutes before they turn around, but residents saying that's still too much in the wrong places. And so I had the opportunity to speak with David Pye, who lives on Lyndale Avenue, and David Pye is a Vietnam veteran with a lot of health issues due to his time in service and just also, getting older. And he said, he doesn't like to talk about those health issues all the time, but he said the time has come where he needs to stress the importance of fixing this problem, because when last time he went to his doctor said that the lack of sleep and the fumes that he's kind of inhaling all from the trains are compounding on his already pre-existing health conditions and could lead to early death. And so that's just one of many narratives in which I've been told over the course of the week about people who are being impacted, who are frustrated, and who want to see change. And so there is talk about them wanting to reach to the higher ups here, whether it's Secretary Pollock, whether it's the governor, who can they talk to? And Bruce Tarr and Ted Costa have been communicating nonstop with the residents, trying to make that communication between MBTA and the residents. But again, it's kind of tricky as residents are looking for more answers, and everyone's trying to run around and figure out, what's going on. So it seems like Bruce Tarr's office never sleeps because they're constantly, working to try to figure out the best solution to things. And it's definitely giving everyone a run for their money. So we'll see what happens. I know that the MBTA just hired Regina Villa Communications to be another point of contact for residents. Obviously, Bruce Tarr's office will still be there, but they're hoping that this is another opportunity for residents to be able to communicate with the MBTA. But again, I know after talking to some other residents about that, they're not too hopeful, but we'll see what happens. I know some residents say that the noise has gotten better, but a good majority are still having a hard time sleeping. Their houses are rattling, and they're looking for change.
Interesting.
Taylor, what do you know which are the peak times when the trains are particularly noisy?
Yeah.
Is it midnight?
Yeah, so I have that right here. So Pye and another resident had articulated, and their numbers add up, that the noise begins around 4 a.m. and it's intermittently all day long. So there seems to be a consistent time around 4:30 in which the trains kind of come in and sit, and then that kind of goes until 1:30 the following morning. So it seems like they're not really sleeping except for that 2, 3, 4 hour window gap. And some of the people that I spoke with are, they're reporters, or they're interviewing people, or they're communicating with teachers, or, running podcasts, and those things you need some peace and quiet when you're doing that. And so they're able to have those timestamps of when the train comes bustling through their recordings. But yeah, so that seems to be the timestamps in which these residents have voiced the trains are right in their backyard. And that's the thing, is that these people, time and time again say that the trains, they knew what they were getting into when they bought their houses. They knew that there was going to be noise, but some of these people have been in this neighborhood for, decades, and it's never been this bad.
Mhm.
And so we'll see what continues in that conversation as the weeks and months continue.
Yeah, keep us posted on that. And we have more health news with a COVID spike happening throughout the community.
Right. And so the city of Gloucester mayor's office just announced that there's been a recent uptick in COVID cases here in the city. Now, this is not unheard of, and I think that we kind of all anticipated a spike because of Thanksgiving, right? Everyone is trying to mitigate the spread by staying home, but obviously, you get that one other person to come to Thanksgiving dinner and find out, you had COVID, or they had COVID, and then everyone's scrambling to get a test and figure out what's going on. And so although there was some question of what will it look like post Thanksgiving, I think we now have answers. Karen Carroll announced the other day or yesterday that there had been 32 new positive cases of the virus identified in Gloucester, and that's the highest that they've seen since the pandemic started in March. And so the city's trying to figure out how do we go about the next holiday season, right? Christmas is coming. That's a bigger holiday than Thanksgiving, although the food might not be as good as some oyster stuffing.
Oh.
Those other, you have your stocking stuffers, which are great as well. But I think people will definitely be itching to be with loved ones this Christmas, and how do you do that safely? Especially as in the release that they stated is the Beverly and Addison Gilbert Hospital have also seen an increase in hospitalizations of COVID cases. And so, if you guys remember back in the spring and summer, how, our hospitals were being inundated with COVID patients, it seems like they have a good rhythm now. But at the same time is, if we were to see a sudden increase in not only cases, but also hospitalizations, how will they respond this time around versus last? Is the question I think we're all asking ourselves.
Great stuff. And Taylor, what are you working on now?
Yeah, so two big things to note. One related to COVID. So we had released a story earlier this week how the Beauport ambulance service is now offering in-home COVID testing. And so they announced that earlier this week, and the service will be provided next Monday. Now there is a price tag on this. I believe it's $170. So somewhere, I believe it's $175 for one test. And what will happen is that a Beauport ambulance service will come to your house and give you a test. You have to make this appointment at least 24 hours in advance, but it runs 7 days a week from 8 to 6. And it's quite the service. I think it's something that a lot of people who aren't able to get in those lines or who are afraid to will be able to get, which is awesome. And they've already seen 80 appointments lined up for next week. So a lot of people want this service. So now we're asking ourselves, how does it go the first week? So we'll have a story for you next week about that, of how it all went down. But then kind of pivoting a little bit more again, back to the trails and back to racing, is that, Boston Marathon got canceled. Races that people had been training for so long got canceled or postponed, and they've been shifting to virtual. We hear that the term virtual racing, and that's not getting on your Xbox and racing Mario Kart. It's actually going out and creating your own race, and then submitting those results to a race organizer to be kind of put in the running for victor of a different race or bike race and stuff like that. And so we're looking more into how those gone so far this year, and come post pandemic, how will races look, and how will runners and racers looking to continue this model of running and racing, or are they really hoping to get back to the traditional everyone's shoulder to shoulder looking to cross the finish line first? You don't have that motivation of the person in front of you to go a little bit faster, a little bit harder. And so what does it look like, and what will it look like in the future here in Cape Ann and beyond? So that's what coming to your guys' coffee table on Friday.
Taylor, have you run any of these virtual races?
No, but I'm hoping to, and I'm going to leave the name of that race for you guys to find out in our paper tomorrow. But yeah, hoping to run one of the races. I know there's a lot of runners here in the area who are eager to get outside despite the coldness, but we'll see. I've been training and eating donuts. That's my training method. So.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to go run to the fridge, Taylor. So thanks again, and we'll check in with you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Back with Erika Brown of the Manchester Cricket. Erika, there's a big weekend planned here now. Christmas by the Sea returns.
Yes, Christmas by the Sea has been going on for years. It's the Chamber of Commerce hosted weekend event, and it usually kicks off on Friday night with the holiday stroll, and it draws hundreds and hundreds of people every year. It's a big, big affair, but it's not the weekend anymore. And because of COVID, they've started planning a long time ago. I think we've spoken about this before, but they started planning with the town to really sort of stretch it out. And now it's going to go on for almost 2 weeks. It goes on pretty much starting on Friday, today. And it goes, we do have the holiday stroll, but the holiday stroll takes place over 3 days instead of one night. We have things like Santa's tour by truck will be next week. We have an open house at the Trask House. The Manchester Historical Museum is the Trask House. That's their museum. And the Manchester Garden Club decorates every year, and they did it again this year, but that open house is happening, and that's going to also be stretched out over a number of days. So it's a really nice way in which everyone with their eyes open about COVID is still trying to celebrate a holiday feel. And I think that Manchester is doing that along with the rest of the towns of Cape Ann. I see it happening, Rockport and Gloucester and everything. It's really nice. It's nice. Everyone's looking forward to it. Cautiously optimistic and really hopeful for the holiday.
It's really important to have some of these traditions continued as best we can.
I think so. And it's funny, we've been talking with the merchants because we're really helping. We're helping the merchants have a supportive season, and we're encouraging everyone locally to look. And I think this goes across the board to every downtown. Don't look at the holiday shopping season as just being, the next 2 weeks. Think about the shopping season of support as taking place all the way through March, really. And if you think of it that way, we're going to get through this, and the retailer's going to be okay. And we're going to hit the summer season, the spring season in a different way. We'll all have held hands. We'll all feel good. And it's really job one to support our own. We had an Eagle Scout who sent in he's a rising Eagle Scout. He's not an Eagle Scout yet. He's going for it. He sent in a note completely unprompted, and he compared the profit margins of Amazon and said, why don't we look locally and make it a resolution to shop locally? And I just think you go, Alexander.
Yeah, good thinking.
Go, Alexander.
Yeah.
Are there other holiday activities planned for Manchester right now?
Yeah, we have a scavenger hunt. So it's kind of like Elf on the Shelf, but with retailers. So retailers are going to put a elf in their window, and it's a contest. We also have the high school a cappella group is going to be singing carols. That's another activity that's happening. We have the lighting of the friendship tree, but it's not going to be the same as it usually is. Usually it's a big gathering with hot chocolate, and the Manchester Women's Club does it. It's not going to be that, but we are going to have the lighting of the tree. And then of course we have Santa, AKA Tom Keogh. He dresses up as Santa and goes on from the fire department and goes on a town-wide tour. So that's going to happen actually on the 6th, and that should be a lot of fun as well.
And we want to say Winter Lights in Essex is also underway too.
Winter Lights and the Fight Light, which is related to that, which is the Light Up Essex. That's actually going. Don't they call it the Light Fight? Right?
Yeah.
It's a big contest between residents.
Yep.
But I saw, the windows, we've done a spin around and gotten some beautiful pictures of some of the retail windows that's a part of this Winter Lights thing. Mm-hmm. And Essex was beautiful. Andrew Spindler has some beautiful windows. He does it every year, but he did a great job. And in Manchester, we had some really beautiful windows too. I'd like to start to go around all of Cape Ann and like capturing the beautiful retail windows and posting them on Instagram and everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And Erika, let's raise a glass now for D. Burrows.
Oh my goodness, D. Burrows! And remember when I said the rising Eagle Scout? Well, she's a rising centenarian. Thank you, D. Burrows. What a fascinating story. She's a real local. Like the Burrows family is very well known, really loved townie family, lived on School Street for years and years. They still, have their house on School Street, but they were a vibrant part of the School Street in the Village neighborhood. They used to get dressed up back in the 60s for Halloween and go, out and have fun with the family, and the parents were involved and everything. Dee Burrows came to with her husband to Manchester in 1947. They met at Purdue University, and she is turning 100 years old next Friday. And we definitely want to raise our glass to her. Just a note about the Burrows family. You know how in the Manchester 4th of July parade, there is a real tradition of the antique bikes?
Yeah.
The antique bicycles. That's really, it existed before the Burrows in the 60s, but the Burrows picked it up in the 60s and have carried it through this day. If we have energy and such a wonderful time around that, it's because of the Burrows family. Can I say one last thing about Dee Burrows that I completely forgot?
Yeah.
She voted. I have a picture of her with her mail-in ballot last month at 99.
Excellent. And she's a good citizen too.
She is. Sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the cricket, folks. That's a great way to end the week, Erika. Enjoy Christmas by the Sea, folks, and we will see you next week, Erika.
Great to see you guys. I missed you.